Alrighty, greetings proxies. I am FOXSOL, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another topic of conversation. In today's conversation, we're going to discuss about Blue Panda, a Zenless Zone Zero content creator that has, as you can tell from the title and pretty much from the thumbnail, has retired from content creation when it comes to Zenless. Now, there is reasons behind this, and it all stimulates if you haven't been, hiding behind a rock and you don't know about the situation. There was a video that was posted about the Defiler that had several different remarks that was made within the video. And pretty much, while the video itself was very decently for the topic that it was trying to cover, was very well decently talked about, it was met with criticisms from several different types of people in the community. Several different types of criticisms that ultimately came in bad faith with some of them towards Rune, and even Rune, I would say, sorry buddy, but to say that even Rune had some bad faith criticisms to what was being provided towards him as well. So we're going to get into this. We're going to have a conversation about this. And yeah, so let's get started. You're looking to snag that next S-rank agent on your account, but yet you're out of polychromes and you're about to blow some cash on the in-store shop for some monochromes? Hold up before you top up. If you're playing Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, or any gacha game that empties your wallet, LDSHOP's got your back. With LDSHOP, not only you're just topping up, but you're saving money. 27% compared to the in-game store prices. That means more rolls, more chances for your dream agent, and way less pain on your bank account. And the best part? It's fast, it's safe, it's secure. No sketchy logins, no endless waiting. Just pick your game, choose your amount, pay, and boom. Your credits to the account before your pity counter even starts sweating. And here's the kicker for all my viewers out there. You'll save even more with the link down in the description below. So whether you're pulling for Orphe, Lucia, or one of those agents that, RNG keeps teasing you with, don't let the in-game store rob you blind. Top smarter. Save yourself right now by using LDSHOP down in the link below. So I figured the best way to get into this video would be to read the very last post on his YouTube channel in regards to his decision. So Blue Panda posted one day ago, "Hello everyone. Apologies for the lack of videos, but I just wanted to come on here and say thank you for those who supported me in the recent video. Ever since that upload, I've been experiencing a major editor's block and had virtually no drive to make Zenless content anymore. I made this announcement in my Discord, but I don't think that is worth spending all the time I do making each of these scripted ZZZ videos. If they're just going to be met with mindless hate and bad criticism every time I make them. I am not backing out because I can't handle a few hate comments. Far from it, actually. I knew what I was signing myself up for by making content around specific genre in the first place. I just think that my time and creativity is better spent elsewhere, so I'm going to focus on that and the things being for the time being. Thanks again to all of you who have supported me thus far, and I wish all of your pulls to go in your favor." I'm going to say that I do hope, first and foremost with Rune, that everything in his future endeavors when it comes to the content that he wants to make goes absolutely amazing. Rune is, to me, a very good guy, but I will say that from watching the video that he's talking about and from the handling of the situation with the live stream afterwards, I don't think that he was just met with mindless hate and bad criticisms. I think that there was some good criticisms that was involved with that video in particular. And I think that, with the mindless hate that was surrounding it, there is much more to that video than just talking about the Defiler, Obel Squad, and so forth. So I haven't done this. I did this on a live stream, but I haven't made a video about this. So we're going to go ahead really quickly. And we're going to take the next 10 minutes. And we're going to react really quickly to the worst boss in Zenless Zone Zero. This is the video that, if you take a look at, was met with pretty much a lot of different commentary. And even some of these comments that was made on here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was removed by Rune because pretty much they were attacking him. So let's go ahead and let's take the time to review the video and make my talking points about, first and foremost, on the situation.
Hey y'all, I'm sorry that my first major video back is yet another one of me complaining about something in this damn game, but I promise you guys that this is an important issue that needs to be discussed. Before we get started, my credentials. I'm a low to light spender in Zenless Zone Zero, only spending money on these 3 characters here. I've also purchased every battle pass up until the previous 2 patches, in which I stopped recently. My only notable copies on my account are M2 Miyabi and M1 Harumasa. Everyone on my account has their signature W engines except for Lighter, and I have been full clearing every endgame mode that's released in the game since I got my Jane Doe back in October of last year. I am someone that still heavily enjoys this game and loves playing it every day. However, I feel the need to criticize this because I think that if the game continues to go down this direction, it's going to turn off a lot of casual players and make them quit the game. I understand that this is a gacha game and that there are going to be predatory tactics used to get people to spend money. However, that does not exempt the game from receiving any sort of criticism towards how they design their content, especially from someone who has been playing every day and has been clearing said content with no issues prior. I am not here to grift or doom about the game. I am someone who knows what they're doing, complaining about very poor design choices being made in a game that I love. Now that that's out of the way, shout out to the channel members as always, support me on Coffee, and leave a like and consider subscribing afterwards and all that nonsense. Let's get into it.
All right. So before we get into the video, I will agree that Rune is a person that does meet the PhD of a Zenless Zone Zero player that has put in time and effort and hours into his content, into his gameplay, and understands the ins and outs of the game. There is no doubt about that. So I want to make sure that that is understood. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pause it in different sections just to let you know in this video, and I'm going to give my remarks about pretty much what I feel might have happened.
I hate Seed. I'm not gonna go over everything as to why I hate her, but this is a child that's feeding into the dev's foot fetish. This sucks because I actually like Seed's design. From the neck up. Her face is very cute and her hair color is very nice. And I'd actually tolerate the little girl piloting a mech if it wasn't a poorly disguised fetish behind all this. But anywho, we're not here to bash on the design any more than we need to. Seed operates as the first character.
This would be the very first part where I think some of the hate has gone towards Blue Panda. When we're talking about quote unquote the worst boss, I understand that we're going to bring in the faction because it does have some involvement with, to his point, but we're needlessly discussing really quickly about foot fetishing. You know, the lolly trope is going to come in later on, but pretty much the discussion of Seed, to which, look, there's characters even in Zenless Zone Zero that myself and many others do not like, but we don't particularly bash those characters because we understand that, you know, for a game like Zenless Zone Zero, a quote-unquote gacha game, is practically where you are a person who is going to be either A, pulling for your favorite characters, or B, spending money for the characters you want. And by making a statement like this, anybody who pulled for Seed in general, that statement right there was, dare I say, not relevant to this video, first and foremost, and was something that felt like it was a blatant attack to the people who pretty much pulled for Seed. That is where I feel like we've already gone ahead and pretty much put up a wall between us and the viewer, and we started doing this thing called agitation, to where we agitated them. Let's continue.
Character to want a double DPS comp in Zenless, specifically double attacker. I won't go too deep into this, but just know that if Seed has another attacker on the team, very good things happen for her and the attacker, with a big asterisk on her in that sentence. Now, since Seed is a part of Obel Squad, naturally she will do better with Obel Squad members on her team, which is true. Her best team is alongside Trigger and Orphe. This isn't inherently a problem. I'm cool with the concept of double attacker teams existing in Zenless. However, the issue lies with the fact that it's A, only tied to one faction, B, a mediocre team comp when it comes to clearing anywhere else in the game, and C, the most expensive comp to put together in the first place. Now Rune,
let's go back to the list real quick.
Game, and C, the most expensive comp to put together.
Okay, so his points that he's made right here is, again, A, only one faction can benefit from double attacker, which, yes, this is the first faction. This is the first composition and the first idealism of creating a double attacker team that coincides and works together. Performs painfully average compared to others right now, unless you're using the buffing for it, which is combined attack. Yes, it is, relatively comparable to others and is on pretty much an average par situation, depending on depending on your account investment, really. Extremely expensive for mediocre results. I can agree to disagree with that one. I have seen some people who has played Seed and has played it with Seed, Orphe, and Trigger, that has played with Seeds and Soldier and Abby, especially after the buffs, that legitimately I think that they're getting some actual great results. But the issue that I have here that I had criticized about this on the live stream with these points is that first and foremost, this is the first true installment of double attacker teams. And yes, right now, really only one faction can really benefit off of it, but doesn't necessarily mean that future-wise, the content in the game may not benefit and offer more options that would surround double attacker teams. But let's continue.
In the first place. Now Rune, you don't have to pull for any of these characters, right? You can just ignore them and still clear content with what you have. And yes, that is true. The only Obel Squad character I have on my account is Soldier 11, and I've been clearing content with no issues despite not having anyone else from that faction. The problem, however, isn't with Obel Squad. It's the fact that they've designed content around Obel Squad, who, again, is the most expensive faction to build a team around in the game. And need I remind you, Obel Squad's specialty is double attackers, which, again, isn't a very good team comp to begin with outside of specific scenarios. Remember, double attacker comps do not exist outside of Obel Squad. Other DPS characters do not gain anything from being on a double DPS team, which...
And again, like I stated earlier, this is something that the ZZZ devs have instilled, and this is the first iteration of it. With more characters coming into the game, with more factions and everything else, we're still relatively early into 2.0's lifespan. By the time 2.0 turns into 3.0, there may be another one or two teams that may work well with double attacker teams. And I have a feeling that is something that the ZZ devs are doing, because I feel like if you look at the 1.0 content in general, it has been very heavily focused on people who's pulled for anomaly characters. And when we're even talking about, content designed around a team, well, in the past, can we not be honest here? We've had content that has been created mainly for anomaly-based characters, and dare I say, Miyabi.
Which is why Seed sucks if you don't have either Sanby or Orphe on her team. She's extremely hyper-specific in a team comp that can barely kill bosses due to how enemies in certain rotations work in Zenless prior to these characters existing. But Rune, if these characters suck at fighting any other boss, surely they'd have to introduce a new boss that's weak to this specific type of team comp. Oh, don't worry, they absolutely did, but I have a problem with that too. Enter the Defiler. This is the worst boss that Zenless has ever introduced. Not because she's a Miyabi check and not because she's an anomaly check, but because she is an Obel Squad check.
Now, well, let me continue a little bit. Hold on.
Not a double attacker check, an Obel Squad check.
I heavily am going to put it like this. This was something when I saw it in the video and I watched it that I said it to my live stream. And I'm going to say to you guys, I disagree with this take. I don't believe that Defiler is a Obel Squad check. Dare I say, with my Evelyn, with different characters that I have played, my Jane Doe, my Alice, because it is also physical weak, even with the anomaly defense on it and everything else. I have played this boss even with Yi Zhuan, with Monato now, stuff like this. And if you have been around my channel and been watching my live streams and such like this, we had spent 4 days beating my Hugo against the brick wall known as the Defiler until we cleared 20k points. And was doing different adaptations to the builds to see what would have a better result, since we're fighting an uphill battle, since it's an ice-resistant boss, Hugo's ice. And we made it work. The thing is that I have cleared this boss very comfortably without using Seed, Orphe. I don't even own Soldier Envy. In general, I don't believe in this part of the video's criticism.
Now, enemies being created for specific characters is nothing new. Jane had her brute boss that electrocuted himself.
Correct.
Miyabi has Bringer, and Yi Zhuan has Priest.
Correct.
However, these bosses are not character checks. Bringer was getting cleared with Piper teams pre-Viviet, and before you used to be able to kind of make an argument for Priest, but even then you could still clear with Evelyn because Evelyn can clear any content in this game. And now we've got Monato, who's essentially the free-to-play Yi Zhuan. So now you guys have no excuse to be complaining about this boss when we have a free-to-play team that's able to clear it now. Not my point, back to Defiler. This boss was specifically designed with Obel Squad in mind, which is a problem because this is the first boss to be designed with a faction in mind as opposed to a single character. Other bosses like the Butcher and Pompeii can be cleared with just about any team comp due to the fact that they aren't as restricted, especially considering the performance points required to clear are easy to obtain. Defensive assist or dodge counter for Pompeii and inflicting disorders for Butcher. When you look at the Defiler though, the only way to get assist points is from impairing her and knocking her down from the air. This isn't necessarily a problem on its own. It's the fact that these are tied to phases where you can't deal damage to her at all is the problem. Now,
right. And if you've also watched a couple of my different videos and a couple of different comments that I've made on live streams, bosses like Miasma Priest, bosses like the Fiend, Miasma Fiend, Defiler, and now even Wandering Hunter are bosses that in general I do believe has been made not really particularly with a character or a team in mind, but with a casual premise on the performance side in mind. What I mean by this is that there has been quite a bit of people who's come to my live streams when I first started playing Zenless Zone Zero, and we talked about the bosses back then with Bringer, with Butcher, with Pompeii, like he was discussing, that a lot of people were not really upset about the boss in general. For one thing, for me, they were complaining more about the performance points, that they weren't getting the 5k performance points and they wished it was a little bit easier. And with the 2.0 boss entailment of what's been trending right now, I do find that the bosses have been delivering more of a casual based experience with in terms of their performance. You still have to have some skill, you still have to have a proper build and stuff like this. But in general, when we're talking about the performance issues, the performance point issues, they're practically brain dead. Miasma Priest, just parry it 3 times. Miasma Fiend, play a minigame. When it comes to Defiler, 3 invulnerability phases and pair it twice, you got 5,000 points. Wandering Hunter, play a minigame. Hide and seek. There you go. 5K. The two phase fight and you're done. In general, this is just making it easier for people to be able to get their performance points. But let's let them continue cooking.
Now granted, it's pretty easy to impair her so long as you have 2 defensive assists, and someone who can burn through the bud easily. However, because she has 3 phases where you can't deal damage to her, even after getting the max points, you're still going to have to rely on doing as much damage as possible, which is a problem considering that she's basically invulnerable for 40% of the fight. Looking at these 3 phases, she has one where she's in the air and you have to parry her attacks, the Tsunami phase, and the Soldier phase where you have to parry her onslaught of summons. Now yes, 2 of these phases give you performance points which are very much needed to clear this boss, but the problem lies not only with the 3rd phase, but the fact that this boss has 3 phases to begin with. The 3rd phase has Defiler summoning soldiers to attack you. The only thing you can do during this phase is parry the soldiers until she comes down from the attack. And not only does this waste time, but you also don't even get an impair from this or the ability to follow up with your defensive assist afterwards.
But you do get 1,000 performance points for it. So if you haven't, let me just put it like this. If you did not clear, for example, the blades in the beginning, the swords, when she's throwing the swords at you, you have a second opportunity to go through the shields, guys, to still be able to collect your 5K points.
This is bad because this phase happens usually at the end, and after it's done, she'll be finished with any specific gimmicks for the rest of the fight. However, it doesn't matter since you'll have less than a minute to gain 10k points anyways, which is super problematic if you're not running an Obel squad based team.
Here again, running an Obel based squad team, I disagree with this. I have gotten over 20k points with Alice, Yuzuha, Jane Doe with a physical team. I've done it with Evelyn. I have actually done it with Hugo, Lighter, Lucia, with Trigger as well on that team. I have done this practically several different ways with characters that I do have built that I do enjoy playing. I have no issues with this boss when it comes to Yijuan. I have no issues with this boss when it comes to Monato and Jufufu. When it comes to saying that the boss is you need the Obel squad to clear the content of this boss is like people saying that you need Miyabi to clear Defiler, which you really, really don't. This is the thing that I love about Zenless Zone Zero so much. When it comes to you as a player, there is different gimmicks that you can do as a player that is in your control, from your builds, from the team compositions you can create. If you read the buffing, you read different things, you understand the mechanics of the game to a certain extent, you can actually find ways around the quote-unquote answer and create your own answer to still be able to comfortably clear a boss such as the Defiler. Primary example of this is that when we were talking about double attack team compositions. Okay, I have seen people who has cleared Defiler with a summon 0 Caesar, a summon 0 Nicole, and a summon 0 Astra team. I have seen people clear it with an M6 Corin team. I have seen people clear it with the Cunning Hares. Okay. If you look at the specific buff, which he's going to talk about here in a little bit, and I'm just going to get this out the way, the combined attack buff, there is a way you technically could cheese it. And I showed this on the live stream, which is you could, theoretically, if you are very comfortable with this and you are actually got a good team composition built, you can take your primary DPS that you like to play. Let's say it's Ellen Joe, or let's say it's Evelyn. You got an M0 Evelyn, for example. You can use an M0 Evelyn. You can go ahead and use Lighter, and you can throw pretty much a third attacker on the team that could be even like level 1 to 10. That is just sitting there to be basically an activator for the buff. So that way you get a 60% crit rate instead of 60% crit damage instead of a 20% crit damage. It is a option that it can be used. there is different things that can be done when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero. One of my primary takes, and I will make a video about this later on, about when it comes down to buffing in general and the generalization of buffing, is if you have an account, this is what I feel, that is practically built and you're doing really well with it and you have the right investment in it, I don't particularly think that the buffs should make or break it when you're clearing an in-game mode like Deadly Assault right now. I don't think the HP inflation is too high at this moment in time to constitute that the buffing is a necessary need to clear in-game. So I just want to go ahead and reference that, but let's continue on.
Just barely managed to clear this with my M1 Haru team. And before you say, oh, just put another attacker on the team to make use of the buff, I'm not going to ruin my team comp just to make use of a buff that only caters to one specific team comp. The only way that I could make a double attacker team comp work for Haru is shoving Anton onto the team, which benefits neither character in this scenario. Need I remind you, every other attacker agent in this game does not want a double attacker comp. So I'm missing out on 40% more crit damage because I didn't want to pull for the feet lolly and her girl failure best friend. Do you guys see the problem here?
I see a problem that you kind of made, again, somewhat of a very sarcastic remark referring to people who has pulled for Orphean Seed there. I understand where your point is coming to a certain extent, but again, it depends on how your account has been invested in. And if I'm not mistaken, someone could correct me in the comment section below, but I thought we looked at this on a live stream when it came down to Haramasa. Haramasa was a free agent, but compared to a lot of the other agents, even though he's an S-rank agent, he relatively, unless he's in the proper hands, I guess you want to say, unless you are a person who really knows how to play Haramasa, Haramasa's kind of weak to be using. Where if you have like an Evelyn, you have a Yijuan, you have, even an Ellen Joe and such, you probably could perform in general better with a different type of character that could be even another A rank character, to be completely honest. Nekomata probably could probably even do a little bit better, depending on stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. Use the comment section down below on that one, but that is something that I've been told a couple of times, and we've done some research that comparably so that like Haru is just not really a strong character. He's a good character. He's a very he's still a very good character, but you need to put in some real time and effort into that character.
I'm doing everything objectively correct with this team that I put together here, but I'm actively getting punished because I didn't want to pull into an archetype that A, I don't really like to begin with, B, is super expensive to get into, and C, is mediocre literally everywhere else in the game. And before y'all say anything in the comments, I am well aware that this is a gacha game and predatory tactics are going to be in play nearly everywhere you go in this genre. However, not only is that a cop-out to defend this genre, but this archetype that they're shilling sold the worst in Zenless history. So a majority of the player base not only doesn't have this team to fight this specific boss, but will also have to cope with the fact that said boss is cemented into ZZZ as official endgame content, and they'll have to deal with it for as long as they continue to play this game. And it's all because they tried to sell an archetype that doesn't even work at the end of the day. What good is building into any of my Rupture characters if the ZZZ devs are going to decide to release another faction one day that's double attacker? The only thing that
And what you just said here is, what is it with the Rupture Ages, is that Rupture Ages don't have an issue with Defiler. They don't have an issue with it. In fact, it is actually really good. I mean, again, you're not... The video here, this is the video that he created. And this is the type of criticisms that has been provided to him that is being considered bad. Is that I'm a person, when I criticize this, and what I had said to Rune in the sense is that my thought pattern on this, I have no hate on Rune, but my thing is that I have never once come into Zenless Zone Zero to go into the deadly assault here and think that, oh boy, I need to use Miyabi. Oh boy, I need to use Yizhuan. Oh boy, I need to use whatever said character at the time to clear content. A video game is a video game. And I agree with him that people are going to say, well, it's a gacha game, predatory, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's a video game. The gacha part is the basically the business behind it, which is you're gachaing for the characters. Okay, and I understand that gacha games are also its own little subgenre, but it's also the basic principle of the business model behind the game. Whereas the rest of the meat and potatoes is a video game. It's an action RPG game. And again, from different types of builds, from different types of team compositions. And if you are a person that is working in Rupture, you're working in different teams, there's always a different answer. Like I said before, there is people who has found like using Korin, using Nekomata, using even a DPS Caesar, all at summon zeros has been summon zeros and like Korin, at M6. They have been able to clear Defiler very comfortably. That it just depends on you, the player, and whether or not you're willing to put maybe a little extra effort into investing a little bit more.
I can hope for is that this never happens again, but I'm still stuck with the Defiler every time she comes around until I get those characters.
And I'll say like this as well. When it's going to come down to it with Bringer, do you think that, because let's put it like this, a lot of people, from my understanding, when Bringer first came into Deadly Assault, they had a lot of issues if they didn't have a Miyabi. A lot of people did not pull from Miyabi. It was like, oh man, I'm having so many issues, and that they're going to have to, it's going to be concreted into the end game content. It's going to be a rotation for those people who is pulling Rupture agents and everything else. Do you think they're going to have an issue with Bringer? So even though we might have, for example, what Rune's suggestion here is, if we're having an issue, let's say with Defiler, doesn't mean that in the future with the game's content, that another team, another character will not come in that you actually really like playing, that you really enjoy. That is going to be, again, another answer to an old problem.
For those of you who don't know me, I've been clearing content with Miyabi, Astra, and Yuzuha banned for a while now. I just recently added Yizhuan to that list too.
And this right here, by seeing Astra Yao being banned, Miyabi being banned, Yuzuha being banned, and Yizhuan being banned from the list from cleared in-game content, this here, to go against, to be a person who's going to criticize this is your own subjective point of what you're doing. So if you're right now playing Haramasa instead of playing everyone else to try to clear in-game content, this again is a you issue, because you purposely are creating the challenge for yourself. The game is not creating the challenge, you are.
But every time this boss comes up, I struggle because my M1 Haru isn't enough. Am I supposed to end it all because I don't have Seed? And even if I did have Seed, I'd need both Orphe and her W engine to clear comfortably. This sucks at the end of the day. A boss that's designed with a specific faction in mind that has not one, but 3 invincibility phases that do nothing but waste time, plus a hyper-specific buff that punishes you for not running that specific team comp, which would actively hurt your DPS if you don't have the 2 specific agents that only work with this team comp. Any other time people have stated that you cannot clear without X unit has been disproven multiple times over. And while the endgame is still clearable now, this is the only instance in which the game is punishing you for not getting just 1, but up to 3 agents if you care about getting a high score in this mode. This is bad game design. In a game full of skill expression and strategic team building, you are punishing good players, and even worse, casual players who just want to clear endgame content and get better at the game, by enforcing this archetype that doesn't work. I don't care if this is a gacha game. This sucks. Unless I get these 3 characters, I'm stuck with the score that I cannot physically improve until I pull for them. This is also bad because either way I look at the future of this game, it's a lose-lose situation. They decide to ditch double attackers for good? Cool. This boss is still in the game though. Or worst case scenario, they add more double attackers and more bosses that can only be killed by double attacker teams. Now, this isn't necessarily going to kill Zenless, but it's going to drive away a lot of the active player base that really enjoy playing this game, because it sure as hell is making me not motivated to try and do my best in DA every time this boss shows up. But at the end of the day, I can easily stop playing this game at any time if I wanted to, and it's not really that serious. But man, is this extremely frustrating to deal with. That's it for me. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
All right. So that was the video right here from Blue Panda, the worst boss in Zenless Zone Zero. And as you could tell, there is some criticisms. If you would have looked at it, like I said before, when we looked at the comment section and everything else, and even with me giving criticisms to Blue Panda, that either way, to me, this is a situation that was undoubtedly a nothing burger. This is not a community issue. This is a Rune issue. Grant you, I agree with some things. Like I agree that, 3 phases with like the Defiler is a little bit too much. I agree that, even with the buffing, it's not as generalized but still there's things that we can do that I have, since I am a newer player in Zenless Zone Zero, I have discovered that there is, and the one thing I love about the game is that there is different answers, different approach to different parts of content in this game. And I honestly felt like at the time when this all came through, that it felt more like Rune was just burnt out of the game, that he was really just being very emotional. And seeing now that pretty much, a day ago, that he is now just dropping from doing Zenless Zone Zero content, I wish him the best. I know that he basically doubled down with his live stream and with his commentary and everything else a little bit, but I'm going to say it like this, Rune, and this is going to be a part that's going to go to you for a second. I think you're a great guy, and I understand that, with the different types of commentary you've been given back from, like you stated here, the hate comments, you could deal with a few hate comments and everything else, but like you were putting in general, like with the bad critics, there was some mindless hate and there might have been some bad criticisms, but there was some good criticisms, and there was some people who did not just hate you to hate you, because again, you did agitate the community when it came your comment section, in a sense, with some people, with some of your commentary, like with the seed hate, the Orphe hate. I get it that you're frustrated. I feel like, again, that you might have been burnt out at the time, and you still might be burnt out in ZZZ. But I think Archetype put out a video recently here that also best explained it, that you're part of the furry community and you're kind of mocking people and what their sexuality and everything else is and what they like. And again, you're attacking someone who might really enjoy seed, and that's not a good way of bringing in a topic of conversation. The comments, the topic should have been kept at the factual point, not with the sarcastic commentary. But even then, I'm going to say like this: don't back down. If you honestly believe everything which you're doing, just stand on business. This was nothing like detrimental. This is, the ZZZ community is not canceling you. You had your take. Look, we're all human. We all have our feelings. Even if you watch my videos and you watch my content, there's going to be things that I'm going to say that a lot of people are going to say is an L take, that they don't agree with it. And, they have that right. We're all different. We're all human beings. And in the end of the day, we all have our different thought patterns. I wish you the best. I hope for the best for you. And I hope that that creativity spins up again, especially I've seen that you put up a Bayonetta video. And I hope that everything goes well for you. But even when it comes down to it, I hope that you realize that the criticisms that has been given to you isn't criticisms that a mass majority of people have given to you in bad faith. That just is criticizing you to criticize you. Again, you're one of the people that I have reacted to before about HP inflation that has fully agreed with you on it, when a bunch of people have disagreed with you and, you know, gave you bad faith hate on it. Subjects that when you have approached it with factual information behind it. And dare I say, at that time period and stuff like this, that, you know, you stood on business. You were the type of person, you know, like we said, like, there's no specific characters that's needed. I don't know what happened with the Defiler in particular, but I will tell you that the Defiler is not really a bad issue. Like, personally for me, I'm one of those people who's going to tell you that I do particularly like how the Defiler is, because I'm one of those people that likes new things. And Defiler is a new type of deadly assault boss that, yeah, it kind of missed the mark with the third invulnerability phase. Don't get me wrong. However, it's something new. It's a risk. And how many times have I heard this in the gacha community, that they're tired of developers playing safe and that they want them to take risk and do something new to keep things fresh. That to them, the content has been stale. A boss like the Defiler is honestly that answer. Is it may be a miss with some people and it may be a hit with others. So again, I don't feel like I really wish that Rune would not disappear. I think Rune's a great guy. I would hope that maybe in the future he would return to ZZZ, because he does have some great credentials and he does have some great thought patterns. I just think that this is one video in particular that was more of an opinion based on his own that should have been kept and understood that it is his opinion and not try to be pushed as a fact on the community. So otherwise than that, tell me what your thoughts is down in the comment section below. And like always, guys, keep it classy, keep it jazzy, and always keep it real. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.